I approached Borderlands 4 at Gamescom this week with an open mind. I didn't really enjoy the last entry, as it felt like a step down both narratively and in the open-world experience offered by Borderlands 2, often considered the series' peak. However, marketing for the fourth game has been hitting all the right notes for me. The shift towards a darker tone, drier humor than we've come to expect, and the upgrade to Unreal Engine 5, which has enabled technical feats that simply weren't possible before. After getting hands-on with Borderlands 4, I still can't make my mind up, but I'm impressed nonetheless. It's basically impossible to extrapolate how a game will feel after 30, 40, or 50 hours in such a short window, especially when my primary concerns are surrounding the open world and general narrative structure. As for the guns, they feel as good to shoot as they always have. However, what I can say is that Borderlands 4 feels good to play. I had the opportunity to raid a vault, complete with a big bad boss at the end. I opted to play the character Harlow, who comes equipped with a shootable stasis field and various other tech-focused skills.
Silky smooth. The movement is very smooth. I was jumping, sliding, grappling, gliding, and every other movement verb you can think of. It almost felt like Apex Legends at times. According to lead level designer Jason Rice, they've designed Borderlands 4 to compel players to reposition in combat and use the environments to their advantage at every opportunity. The variety of ranges on enemies forces you to stay mobile, but there's still room for the classic stand still and shoot approach. Gunplay also felt nice and tactile, which is something Gearbox has consistently excelled in. Pulling off headshots feels impactful, and shooting while on the move doesn't feel clunky. An enigmatic figure called the Watcher cheered me on as I progressed through the vault. The enemy types were nice and varied. There were creatures who charged at me, snipers who shot from a distance, mid-range grunts, special enemies with armor and shields. Each one encouraged me to switch between weapons and dart around the map to counter them, which is indicative of good combat design. I was occasionally dropped by a tenacious flanker, but I always managed to fight my way back up. There was one tense moment where I sniped an enemy well downed, but he fell to the floor behind cover without dying. At the moment of my impending doom, he stood up and I managed to slay him and save myself at the last minute. Moments like this are what make Borderlands shine, and I'm glad 4 already seems to have them in excess. I fought my way to the boss room, where I was met with a plant-adorned feline creature. The fight had several stages, including an interesting one where the floor becomes toxic and you need to constantly juggle your character using the grappling hook while simultaneously damaging the creature. Unfortunately, I ran out of time before I was able to finish the boss fight, but I was satisfied with how much of the game I saw. There aren't crazy innovations, and I don't think anyone expected this to be the case, but the switch to Unreal Engine 5 has a noticeable effect on the fidelity of the overall experience.
Lingering questions.
That's the thing about Borderlands. The series maintains its popularity because the core gameplay loop is genuinely very engaging, and there's enough variety in weapons, skills, environments, and guns to keep things interesting. However, my contention with recent entries has been their weak narratives and monotonous quest design. In Borderlands 3, there came points where I was driving around Pandora to kill enemies and complete quests, only to realize I was going through the same old motions. It's capable of so much more than that. I didn't have the opportunity to explore the narrative and open world in my brief time with the game, but Borderlands 4 is set to have little to no loading screens, a non-linear narrative, and radiant quests that pop up on the screen as you drive around. Rice explained in a pre-hands-on presentation that Unreal Engine 5 has allowed them to create large, expansive areas without compromising on the game's technical aspects. The question is, will these maps be full of engaging things to do, or will they be nothing but a series of empty wastelands? As for the narrative, I've said several times before that I'm excited about Kairos. The setting is a refreshing change from Pandora. We're witnessing a society in transition from a fascist state to something more uncertain, and our characters will be at the center of that. Ever since the climactic battle against Handsome Jack, Gearbox has resorted to tropes, cliches and comically incompetent characters to tell its stories. It looks like we're going to be seeing something more grounded in reality and about the human experience, which is much easier to get invested in than some of the series' previous offerings. The jury is still out on Borderlands 4, but I was impressed by everything I saw at Gamescom. If the open world and narrative elements are as fleshed out as Gearbox claims, then we might be seeing a return to form for the studio.